We cannot take a day off because we're all one check away from homelessness. You've got guys who are in their 60s that still have to keep working because there's no retirement. The businesses have completely shut down.
How did Dean and Titus at the federal level have control over the local fund?
Majority of our people don't vote. We're getting, for our district, like 13% turnout. They don't want people to vote, and so that distracts you with social media.
So increasing voter turnout's a big priority.
They show up to the union events, or they take pictures and they leave. They've done nothing.
We have all the tools we need to provide, but somehow we're falling short of that. Our goal would be to... I'm Dr. Ori Nagy. Welcome to the Dr. Ori Nagy Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am running for U.S. Congress in Nevada's 3rd Congressional District to replace Susie Lee. Today I have with me Mike Borris.
Yes, pleasure.
Thank you for joining our show today, and thank you for running for office in Assembly District 21.
That's correct.
So you're over on the east side of town?
Yeah, 40 years I've lived there, of my 48 years alive. And I went to El Dorado, Community College, well now it's the College of Southern Nevada. Yeah, my whole life's been in the east side.
Oh, wow. So you've seen Las Vegas change dramatically.
Yeah.
And have a fantastic idea of what's broken out here and what needs to get fixed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when we were young, Las Vegas, Clark County School District was the #1 school district in the country. When I graduated in '89, somehow they were at the top, believe it or not.
Yeah, and the problem is, it's one of the reasons I started started running. We collected, specifically in our general fund, $900 million. We're only allowed to have 20% of the state fund in there, which is $2.2 billion. So we had about $560 million too much. And the Democrats in office just kept trying to change the laws to keep it. It's a non-transparent fund, but it was promised to our school children, which would have made a humongous difference. Instead, Culinary Union got $25 million. Bunch of people got bonuses, and what they did with the education was they sent it to the police force to educate the officers on their job better and called it education.
Wow. When did all that happen?
Over the last 3 years, so 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. So this is all very recent.
Yeah. I was the last person that wanted to get involved in politics until I seen that nobody who is, gets up and, you have to choose between breaks and braces. And I live that life, and I work hard, and I started from the bottom and worked my way up to successful middle class, which is, for us, that's a win.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that is a win in today's economy and in the world today. And so I mean, just now you sort of called out the Culinary Union and the police force. Those are huge political movers of votes.
Absolutely, and I'm a journeyman carpenter in the Carpenter 1977 union. I'm very union supportive, but when it comes to our kids and our veterans, unions come very far down that list behind our children and our vets.
What allowed that to take place? The misappropriation of funds, or the redirection of funds that should have gone to the kids in our schools to the police force and to the Culinary Union?
Well, it's a non-transparent fund, so they don't have to let you know what they're doing. It's a lot of politics we have now. It's a lot of promises and no follow through.
Who are the specific politicians?
Dina Titus, Joe Lombardo from had some control over there, and I support Joe.
How did Dina Titus at the federal level have control over the local fund?
Well,
state level?
She doesn't have control over the local fund, but because we have all Democrat Congress people, we are a Democrat themed. Even though we're a purple state. It's very, we've gotten brainwashed, I guess, out here, so that nobody's fighting or asking anymore. We're so detached as citizens from the political actions. Majority of our people don't vote. In our non-presidential elections, we're getting, at least for our district, like 13% turnout. And that is the older, the elderly, who it's Super Bowl for them. They can't wait to show up. Yeah. But it's not the 9-to-5ers, because we have to work for a living. We cannot take a day off because we're all one check away from homelessness. And you shouldn't have lived somewhere for decades and built your life and always still be a check from homelessness. If I'm working in the, doing a union gig, usually it's a younger man's job. It's a lot of lifting and labor, but you've got guys who are in their 60s that still have to keep working because there's no retirement, there's no anything consistent. The businesses have completely shut down over there. We got more boarded up places than regular places.
So election day ought to be a state holiday so that people have a chance to come out and vote.
I think it should be more than one day.
Affect most.
I think it should be more than one day that you should get to go vote. It should be convenient. They don't want people to vote They don't want new voters. They want the old generation making the same rules, and they prefer us not paying attention. So it distracts you with social media and just garbage. That it has nothing to do with your real life. It's not affecting your gas or your rent.
So increasing voter turnout's a big priority for you.
Huge priority. Huge priority. Yeah, I was very much an advocate for who cares if you vote or not. You know, if you weren't running on something that I felt deeply about, I just didn't care. I'm one person. What is my vote going to do? And that spread like a virus. So now you have the mass majority of people who do not come out to vote. Or they don't even, you can't trust the mail system now. It just got reported. It was like of 25,000 plus people that shouldn't have been on this vote list are voted. Dead people, people who have listed living at Walmart. And the system is not set up for middle-class America to get involved. We were just discussing, they want you to run for state senate, $230,000. If I want to go homeless for 2 years, I can do that. But it's just not conducive to getting anything better. It just keeps the money people running and in their office, and they, for the majority of them, except for you, which I was very impressed with, I don't see how they're going to help us because they're so detached from it,
So who's in that seat now that you're running for?
Orenshaw.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the Titus mini boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to beat him to get to Titus, but they vote the exact same, just straight blue book votes. And I personally don't believe that they have the heart in what they're voting for. I think they're voting for where their money is sending them to vote.
I don't know much about Orenshaw. I know Orrin Licker. He's a physician who then became an attorney, and he had a lot of positions on healthcare votes that I was opposed to. But I don't know much about Orenshaw.
Nobody does, because he doesn't do anything. Okay. He shows up to these union things, even Titus too. They show up to the union events where the working class are. They take pictures and they leave. They've done nothing. They'll keep their votes where they're supposed to be. But if you are a proponent of transsexuals, teaching your kids how to become a better transsexual, James Orenshaw voted for that. If you're a proponent of higher gas prices, higher rent, no tax on tips, you want your tips taxed, James Orenshaw voted for that.
Yeah, it's Susie Lee did too.
And there's nothing that is helping me or my people. We're out here just slaving away. I would prefer you focus on how to keep me and my family off the street than worrying about anything else, anything else. We're only as strong as our weakest link. And if they're willing to let the east side of town, which has become a garbage dump, and it's like you can go 10 miles away and be in just the most beautiful places you've ever been. But nobody cares. The street lights don't work down there. The crime is through the roof because nobody has money. Everybody's stealing because you got to eat. You got to, the kids you got to wear the Nikes. Parents ain't going to buy them because they're out of work. And you can't leave food stamps to your grandkids.
What's the first thing they do? I mean, what's the first thing that could be done in that community to improve things?
You could do anything, but mainly open the businesses. You have all these small businesses that are sitting there with boards. These are just empty complexes of businesses. So we're just losing revenue, and that revenue creates taxes, which can get these street lights turned on.
So one of the things that we're trying to do here in Las Vegas is as follows. We have this idea that we have the best chefs in the world here in Las Vegas, and we have the freshest food in the world being shipped in every morning for the casino industry, and we have some of the best nutritionists in the country at the NFL, the NHL, the UFC, the WNBA. We have all the tools we need to provide the most nutritious, delicious meals in the country to the kids in our schools, but somehow we're falling short of that objective.
They spend more on the wild horses than on the lunches for the kids. So we're feeding the horses in the desert better than we're feeding our kids. Our kids, our jails, my God, and when you go to jail, you don't pay a parking ticket or something. You're not a criminal. You're being accused of not paying your parking ticket. But it's the worst conditions I've ever seen. Like, it's barbaric. And it's the same lunch the kids are eating. I think it's Bob Barker that's or owns all the companies for the jails. I know it's the beds.
Is that really right?
Yeah,
I did not know
Bob Barker. If you've been to jail, you're a fan of Bob Barker.
Well, one of the things, one of the studies that were performed in the jail was regarding nutrition, right? When they improved the quality of the nutrition in the prison systems, they had a reduction in violence assaults it was just overall better outcomes for the population and for the
They are
the guards as
mistreated,
well.
and I seen for myself. I got a nice mugshot in my Mike Borris for Congress shirt. When I was there, though, for my one night there, pay your tickets. Yeah, mine was all dropped and everything, but now I know better. It's horrible. I'm watching guards that are flipping out on inmates, like provoking them. Oh, your wife's probably messing with somebody else right now, and
Oh, wow.
and they're just beating them to crap, and nobody cares because it's jail. These are But when I did my night in there, I was with another candidate's campaign manager who was picked up for something different. So there's normal people that are not criminals. But if you miss a payment or something, you get to go spend the night and be a guest of the city.
Wow.
If you don't like the restaurant, don't eat the food.
The reason I brought up the nutrition in the school system is we have the 5th biggest school district in the country. So that's 330,000 meals a day.
I think we get $12 billion a year for the kids.
So there's $6 a meal provided from the federal government for the Las Vegas school system, or the Clark County School District. And so we have the capacity to, if you can provide a nutritious meal within that amount, that's the amount that can be spent. It's a closed network in that if they make a decision to use those funds to support a more nutritious meal plan, we would have the capacity to execute on it and build a market for those more nutritious food products.
Well, and you have autism running rampant, ADD, ADHD. My son Odin's in a class because he's hyper. And he eats good at home, but
that's a great name, by the way.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah, Odin. No more frost giants. Thanks to Odin. Yeah, he's in special classes when I don't see him as a special kid. And I've worked with special kids in my life, but they're shipping these kids around and they feed them garbage. And we did a lot, me and his mom, to the nutrition. They got rid of the dyes and everything in the food. Basically, it's not coming out of Trader Joe's.
That's the stuff at your house, or the stuff in the school
stuff in our
district?
house.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And it's a huge improvement, at least on our side. But you can see they'll give him some sugary something, and my kid turns into a monster.
So our what we have set up to do is to start to figure out what better nutrition would look like for the kids in our schools, and to assemble a team of people who could study the outcomes. Our goal would be to improve nutrition in the schools by, say, 5 or 10% over the new regulations put out by RFK and Donald Trump. And then at the end of 2 years, to demonstrate that improving nutrition had reduced obesity, reduced long-term health problems, improved reduced diabetes, improved athletic performance, academic performance, reduced mood disorders, reduced school violence and teacher assaults and school shootings.
And you can go to any other state and see a difference in the kids everywhere you go. I know on the East Coast, those kids are still getting home-cooked food. You get silverware, you got a piece of meat and your potatoes, you're eating a meal. Whereas out here, it's disgusting. I think you should have to eat the food you're going to serve them. Put the camera on like they did the CEO of McDonald's, eat your own food, and when you're gagging, okay, maybe we need to throw a few more bucks at that.
So we started getting people together about 2 years ago on this topic and just started talking about, is there anybody who's opposed to this? And nobody is opposed to improving the nutrition for the kids in our schools.
Anybody shouldn't be opposed to improving everything for our children. Like, there's nothing you can say, hey, we should get them better books. We can't afford it. We could send $15 billion to the Ukraine, no problem. But if you served in our country, you're probably living on the street. If you're, we have so much home team stuff that we need to take care of first.
100% agree.
Before we are worried about anybody else and what's going on in their place.
There's a tremendous amount of truth in what you just said.
I work with the tunnel, the people that live under the tunnels, right? Okay. I don't work with them. I help feed them with a group called Holy Smokes. And we bring batteries, socks, food, and we'll sit there and just talk to them. There's people who've been down there for over 8 years, and they're lost. Up before last year, nobody even knew they were down there. And we're talking, there were 6,000 people in miles of tunnel. We do comedy shows. So all the comics, we get together, we go for free, find the bright part. There's like a circle about a half a mile in, and you perform comedy and just bring a little sunshine, into that.
That's a really nice thing.
Yeah,
try to bring joy to people who are kind of otherwise struggling.
I have no idea how to fix it. There are a percentage that would rather just live there and not deal with society, but most of them, they want homes, they want their lives back. They tourists that came out here made a bad decision and they're stuck, but they don't have mailboxes, so you can't get an ID, you can't get any kind of government assistance. So we'll give them a P.O. box and you could fit X amount of people in that, but it's just not enough. I don't know how to fix that, at all. And I'd love to have an answer, but my heart, I've dealt with homelessness in short spurts of time. And when you're in that situation, not only is your mental capacity just focused on yourself and I'm not good enough to even ask for help, where you're just lost, and it's not a world that's accepting. You're pariah.
One of the things that I've been talking to several of the guests about is the separation that we have currently between the faith-based organizations that are trying to do this work and the government-based organizations that are trying to.
They hate the faith-based.
There is a tremendous amount of.
We'll help you, but you're coming to church now. We don't care what religion you work for. You got here. Congratulations. You're whatever we are. They don't want to sit there, and I'm hearing this from them. And I'm faith. I'm very much faith based, I guess. But in that world, I don't think. Everybody needs Jesus, but a sandwich is going to probably help them a little more.
Sure.
A job, clean clothes, socks. Socks are a huge commodity down there.
From your perspective, having kind of interacted a lot with these people, they're not open to a faith-based. Because one of the things
they're open, they still believe in Jesus, but these people, they're stuck in addiction. It's just not. Give them something to appreciate before telling them they should appreciate what they have because Jesus said so.
I see.
Like, oh, you're alive. No, screw that, man. I have no teeth and my face is, one guy down there, he was shot with a shotgun back in the day, and he's been down there for 8 years because he can't, on the surface, he's just, he's a circus performer. He looks like a freak. It's a terrible thing, and you got to get somebody up to sea level if you want them to have love in their heart.
Yeah.
Because that's just, what are you going to preach down there, starving to death?
I guess people who are already members of churches who are struggling benefit from the kind of resources that allowing faith-based networks to participate more strongly in resource distribution.
Give your money. If you're a faith-based network, give your money. Just give your money. There's organizations out there, and they don't need to advertise. Any church is designed to grow. They don't care who's in there. They want to grow because you get more revenue for the more people you have. You have genuine faith, give your money up. Just give the money and thank you. Trust me, it'll get used how it's supposed to be used. There's many people out there that are genuinely trying to help, that give up their lives. There's the couple that runs the Holy Smokes. They don't miss a day. And they could be living anywhere doing better stuff, but that's where the heart is. And I complain about the Republican Party because the humanitarians aren't in here. I've spent my life working with children, walking with the families, dealing with cancer and losing kids, or homeless veterans, people that are locked up for offenses that they shouldn't be in there for 20 years. It's just such a huge thing that you don't have to put your ego into it, if you're trying to help somebody.
I think there are humanitarians in the Republican side, but I think they get frustrated because they believe that when they give money to organizations, things will happen to it, like happened in Minnesota, or like happened with USAID, and it'll be misappropriated and stolen from the system. And it's hard for them to find institutions that they have faith and trust in.
That's the bridge. They're not going to go down there and see what's going on themselves, so they're never going to meet those people. So they're trusting people that say they do. They're taking their money and misappropriating it, sending it to Somalia or wherever. When just go down there, just take a day. It's 20 minutes and just go see for yourself.
I mean, that's not the worst thing to organize field trips.
Bring a knife. It's dark.
But I mean, that's not the worst thing to organize field trips down there, or missions and let more people know about when those days are happening.
The more people that know, I mean, we all know, that there's the guy sitting on the corner with a sign.
Yeah.
And I'm very judgmental. If it's a guy, I think you can work, I don't give you nothing. You're a woman out there, kids, dog, whatever, here you go, here you go, here you go. But I'm not fixing the problem, but I might have fixed her day, you know, and that's enough for me. I go home happy and I'm like, I helped somebody today. I'll never see him again in my life. But my karma's good. If everybody helped one person, there's more of us than homeless people. Pick one person and you fix the issue. Like, people don't grasp that concept, but I'm like, just help one person.
Well, that's a noble sentiment for sure.
Yeah, it's 15 years, I ain't fixed it yet.
So, but I think it's because you're going to where the problem is and you're around it all the time. The folks who live on my side of town up here, you know, they see the folks who are out there on the sign, and those are folks, at the end of the day, they get picked up by a black Mercedes that picks them up and rounds them up, and these people are responsible for bringing, I think, about $30K a month is what they earn for the people who run those networks of people. And it's an operation that utilizes, so people get into debt and then they post them here and they extract the money from them, and this is how they pay off their debt. It's a nasty system. At least that's the way it was running about 5 years ago when I read about it then.
You see a lot of people, especially if you've grown up out here, that work so hard and lose everything. And then you see the same people, you know, that are doing the same plan, and there'll be all the success in the world because of it. It's just not a fair system, you know. It wasn't designed to be fair, but I'd like to feel like I have a chance. Back in the day, America was, I was gonna have a house by 18, you join your military, you know, it was a plan. You get married, have kids.
That was my next question, is there the capacity for any of these folks who are down there to join the military? Because the military is a fantastic equalizer of opportunity. People can enter, and they will make the best of what the material in front of them. What's that?
I don't know, anybody can carry a landmine.
Well, I mean,
but there's a lot down there that are just a little far gone, I think, for that. Like, dilapidate. You'd have to get them to sea level first, and that's just get their health at a basic minimum. But everybody has a skill. You know, everybody's tried to be something. Utilize those skills.
Because I mean that has been the military's industry, right? You come on board, they provide you an aptitude test, and they're like, you know what, this guy would be great at X and that guy would be great at Y, and let's help them to get there so we can make the most of these volunteers we have.
You only talk to recruiters. I don't know if you've ever been in the military, but they're going to tell you you're going to be a doctor, and they get in there and they go, you're a grunt, here's a gun, congratulations.
Oh, so
I did a short stint in the Marine Corps, and they're very picky, you know, about getting in there, and if you're not the top, you're going in there to die. I have a 23-year-old who I was trying to convince, straight A student, go to college, go to the military. He goes, why am I going to go to the military? I'm going to go die for some fight I have no clue about 50 million miles from here over oil or something. And he goes, who do you know that went to college is actually, except for you, doing what they went to college for? And I know many psychologists that are driving Uber Eats, you know, and you don't get that. If you're not going for something vaguely and you're a middle-class person, and you're just going to stay in that middle-class world unless you become a specialist.
Yeah, I would argue that most of the people who join the military come out with some skills. I don't see that many people.
If you get to come out.
But how many people end up dying through the military? I mean, not that many.
Not as many today as it used to be, but, you know, really, when it's a problem that you're finding out 10 years later was all a lie to get oil and all the crap, one was too many.
Yeah, no, and I don't disagree with you on that.
But it has to exist. It's just, if we had people in power that were doing their job like they're supposed to, you wouldn't have needless death, needless war. You know, some reasons, I'm sure, but nowadays, nobody trusts why we're going to war. You know, I love our president, and for the most part, trust everything he's doing, but there's no 100% in anything, because everything is like movie magic now. They're telling stories and narratives that, for the most part, if you track, are old movie scripts. And they're doing the same thing. If you ever watch Snake Eyes with Nicolas Cage, the whole Charlie Kirk, the guy was named Charlie Kirkland, and he was the politician who got shot in the neck by the Savage Tyler in the movie.
Yeah, that I haven't watched that one in a long time.
And it's real life now. They're just, you know, recycling material.
Yeah, there's a lot of strange things happening in the world today.
And social media floods you with so much information. They don't want you knowing what's true or not. So if you start getting too close to the truth, they'll create something, one side will do the, I'm famous for posting stuff that's not fact checked, and I feel so dumb, but at the time I'm reading it, the dopamine hits and I'm like, oh, I'm outraged. And I'm like, Joe Biden is not married to his babysitter, and I'm like, it looked real when I read it.
No, that I also have to sit there and check myself before I kind of like repost or resend something to my friends. Can I utilize Grok constantly?
Being a brain surgeon and as educated as you are, anything you post is I'm going to take for fact.
Well, right. I feel like particularly if you're running for Congress, people are going to expect if you said it, it's true, and so that's a lot of responsibility. So you got to make sure the best you can.
Absolutely. Yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way this week.
Well, I mean, you're running for office now too. So for the things that are relevant to your district, for state policy, for any of the laws that are coming out, people are going to ask you, hey, what does that mean? And what is that about? And that's going to be, they're going to expect the truth from you on those.
And coming out of the entertainment and stand-up comedy industry, I get a little leeway. Because I get to, I could be a little more fun and not, they expect it. Whereas somebody, like yourself, if you go out there and do something goofy, they might judge you a little more harshly.
But it gives you a lot of bandwidth coming from that arena to start to discuss issues that most other people can't touch.
Absolutely, I have no filter whatsoever when it comes to issues whatsoever. And I'm not on I was never I was an independent forever, and I didn't vote. And until I had kids and I saw it's how important it is, then I started voting. But before that, I was just having a great time. No, helping people though, but having a great time doing it. I worked with every celebrity. I've been all over the world.
That's exciting.
Oh yeah. It gives you a broader aspect of what's going on in your country when you get to spend time in other countries and seeing how they're living.
What did you learn?
I learned not a lot like us. I tell a lot of people I was Canadian. But they treat their children better is one thing. I know over in Europe, everything was directed towards kids and early development learning, and we don't do any of that here. Our kids, I feel like, are cattle, and they're just putting them in. I have a son, my son through my wife, and he's like 12, and the kid can barely read. And I work with him personally, and we've got a lot of improvement. But just out of the public school system here, I'm like, how are you almost out of this school and they're still passing your grades? Because they don't care. You'll graduate out here. You don't even have to be able to read your diploma. They stopped teaching cursive. They don't teach government in our schools no more. So now you can't read the Constitution because you don't know how to read cursive. And you don't even know there is a Constitution because you never had government class.
That is depressing.
We're raising morons happily out here. And that gets under my skin, because I got to work with these kids. They end up in the industry out here. We're not raising doctors and lawyers in Las Vegas. We're raising strippers, blackjack dealers, and stagehands.
I worried that was behind the gradual decline of education.
Deja vu, right there on that billboard. Right. Now accepting class of 2026.
Yeah, that's true.
And why would you want to go to work? I know I can make $1,000 a day, $3,000 a day, shaking my butt, and I was built for it, I'd be doing that in a heartbeat. It's not, there's no motivation to be a positive member of community out here. There's no me being out here 40 years is like, I'm probably been out here longer than most people. We don't have locals. It's a transient town, so nobody respects it. Any memories you have in Nevada have been torn down or demolished to put new buildings on top of them. So you can't even take that trip like you would if you grew up in New York and this is where I did this is where I did this. Everything's different, and it constantly gets changed. You can't park downtown for less than $60.
Yeah, no, that's
I live here. I can't afford to go out here.
Yeah, no, that's everybody's complaining about that. Because I feel like a lot of that's out-of-state landlords have come in and occupied a lot of the real estate ownership.
Out-of-country landlords. Yeah, the e-sellers.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to end.
Yeah.
The laws of the state of Nevada should benefit the people of the state of Nevada.
Any other country, you cannot buy property out there if you're not a citizen of that. You can't go to Mexico and go buy a house and land out there if you're not a citizen of Mexico. We should have the same rules here for that.
That's the thing I can help with.
Because we don't have any. If you knew how much China owned just Nevada, you would be in shock. But chunks of this country are owned by other countries, enough where you expect a bill,
Expect a bill. Yeah, to the extent to which our government has stopped defending the people who live here in favor of supporting gigantic corporations or anybody with lots of money who comes in to
The government is not
participate.
here to help us.
Yeah.
They are here to keep us sufficient enough to keep turning money in at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But
So,
there's no growth. They don't offer any government program. Nobody's pushing grants. We have millions of dollars that get unused that are supposed to be building us into a better community. And I've never heard one congressional or Senate person. Nobody's come up and said, "Let me help you with a grant. Why don't we apply for a grant?" For anything.
there's one, maybe two offices in the state that I'm aware of that have as their function assisting people with finding grants for the thing that they're working with. So
They're probably like the Whirlpool repairman, just sitting in an empty room doing nothing.
you hear constantly about the government making money available for whatever program or project, and it really seems like those programs or projects are designed for one or two people in mind to take that money and siphon out of the government as some payoff.
I don't know anybody who's ever received a grant in my life. Anybody, and I know everybody. Nobody's ever received a grant.
So I received a grant for a federally qualified health center.
You're on a different side of town.
This was for a federally qualified health center. Is a health center designed to operate within an medically underserved or financially underserved area. And so we were over at DeLima Hospital, and we put up a clinic over there. And I found out the amount of corruption within the Bureau of Primary Health Care,
Especially, in healthcare.
Was inordinate. The people who were administering the grant to us were asking for bribes. And so when we refused to pay a bribe back to the person who's supposed to be giving us the money, because they get the money from the government, they oversee your operations, and then they said, well, okay, you have to pay me bribes in order to keep getting money so that I can report back that you're doing a good job. And I was like, well, isn't that unethical? And that was the last decent conversation we had. And then the federal government people came after me viciously, and because they weren't getting their piece of the kickback, I guess, back in D.C. So it got extraordinarily nasty. They wanted to file felony charges. And when I went to a criminal attorney says, yeah, that's a 10-year charge they've got against you. And I was like, and they said the right thing for you to do is to just walk away. When you give the
Don't
government
tell your
back
friends.
when you give the government back control of this organization, they'll drop all the charges for you and it'll be fine. I was like, yeah, no. So the next day I went to the FBI and I said, listen, this is a racketeering operation. It's happening here in Las Vegas and in every other city in the country. And this goes all the way back up to Washington. And you should pursue it all the way back up to Washington. But don't go find out which congressmen are benefiting from this, because then you guys lose your jobs.
See, and that's why someone like you gets through the door. So, and you're getting the worst treatment ever, but you can't go ask anybody in the middle class for a bribe that's coming. Somebody who's like maybe created a dance school for children and they're trying to fund it, they'll come to your house and beat the crap out of you. They know that the professionals have to maintain an image. So you're going to get the offer and they're going to pull them bribes out on you, but they're not even going to give guys like us a chance because they know we can't even afford the bribes.
No, I think the whole thing is designed to reroute money to people who will donate to politicians on that side.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
I think that's really 100%. The purpose of that network.
And our class doesn't get involved in politics. We're a no-win. And any way you go at it, we're a dead fish. So we get the least amount of attention.
So there are organizations within on that side of town or over by like MLK and Kerry and stuff. And so, but they learn how to politically organize and move votes. And when they're moving votes around, they use those votes as a currency to get money funded into their communities.
Right.
And then what happens to that money within their communities? The money's intended to do X, Y, Z, and then the money gets rerouted to pay bloated salaries for different things, it appears sometimes. And so getting anything done through government is incredibly inefficient because most of it is used for these, and that's why people talk about private enterprise.
Right, 100%.
Is a better way to get things done, because when you put a big pile of money into a place that has limited accountability, it just sort of seems to disappear.
And you're finding that is happening in every single sect of the government. Like when you hear the daycares, you're like what are they not touching if they're literally hitting everything? I don't know any part of the government that's running, I could say 100% fairly. Like I have a great chance of doing this, and because people like yourself and me that have lived real lives, started and built yourself up, aren't the traditional people to go into politics. For you, it's like a pay decrease. It's community service at this point. And for me, it's just they see tattoos or they see, that I've worked in cannabis education and, oh, he must be a poor person. But now you guys just collected $900 million off of what you were sending us to jail for when we're saying, hey, please just look at the medical on this. Or, when I started out in this industry, in that industry, it was very recreational, let's say. My shows in the television work were just comedy and jokes, and we were making a thing. But when I got exposed to children that were passing and families that had to split up trying to get RSOs and stuff that they believed is helping their children, it changes your life. I had these
I don't know
two,
what an RSO is.
Rick Simpson oil. So all your cannabinoids, they'll tell you CBD. I don't want to get into the cannabis thing, but CBDs are great for you. You have to have all the cannabinoids, and the studies, because of the testing, are so limited that you these doctors personally because we're a small group. And we have this book of these kids, the canograms we called them, and they're going, these are the children we're helping. It's like 50 of them. Then you get to this part of the book, and these are the children we couldn't help. And that part of the book was bigger, and kept getting bigger than the helping side. And I immediately went to education. After that. And still took the judgment as if I'm running around like Cheech and Chong when I'm running a publicly traded cannabinoid company.
Yeah, I think, one of the problems that people have is they look at things on the surface and they make a judgment based on their initial impression. Like, so somebody who's got tattoos is associated with other people who I've known in the past who have tattoos, and therefore they must be the same.
Right.
And they want to say, well, I saw a criminal once who was, had a bunch of tattoos, so this person must be similar. And in Las Vegas, things are different than that.
It's exactly what I say. This is the face. It's the new face of the Republican Party. We have tattoos. We have piercings. We've broken laws. We've stole. We were kids. Not we, but when I'm a little kid, I stole candy bars and stuff. I've been there. I got in trouble. But we grew up. We learned to stay away from the gangs and the drugs, and we went to school and bettered ourselves. But we still have stories to tell.
And that's the point, is that there are a lot of roads that people can take that lead to the same place. And however they got there, if they're at a place where they are providing a good message that helps people, and you can see the evidence in the works around them and the people who are supporting them, then that in and of itself is evidence of the good that they're providing to their community. Absolutely. And that they have a message worth listening to.
Absolutely. I used to, at UNLV, they have a medical program, and we'd have the doctors and nurses studying from UNR and UNLV, and the late Nurse Julesy would do all plant medicine classes that I was the host of. When we'd bring other doctors that specialize in all plant alternatives, and we have legislation groups for it. And they're getting college credit for attending this. But then you leave, and we're getting that stigmatic judgment in everything else we're doing.
So there's an evolution that's happening in medicine in this country right now. And there's a broad recognition in the public that, and within healthcare professionals too, that the medicines that we prescribe for treatments regularly are the medicines that were profitable enough to make it through the FDA's regulatory system to be labeled as a cure for disease, which means they had to go through a double-blinded placebo-controlled trial. To execute a trial like that is a very expensive process, and the only way to get the funding to push a drug through that, or any substance through that, is to find investors willing to take a risk on that, so that they can see a profit at the end of it. And that only happens with drugs that have patents that have potential multi-million-dollar markets out there.
The word profit and medicine should never be in the same thing. People don't become doctors for the most part because I want to be rich. I'm going to be a doctor to be rich. I want to be a doctor so I can help people. I want to be a lawyer so they don't have to deal with whatever my dad does. There's usually a story with a heart behind it. And they've shown that the money is always more important, is what you're seeing now from these, not lobby groups, but the investors that are running, the hospitals and such.
What you see a lot of is you see these giant corporations and the CEOs of these giant corporations who, from the hospitals and the pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies and the hedge funds that practice medicine, and they're all out there trying to argue that they should be the voice of what good healthcare is, and that people should trust them. But those entities have only one purpose in mind, and they are bound by law to pursue only one purpose, and that's to maximize profits.
Your patients should be the voice.
Healthcare.
Your work speaks for itself. You have a family who is just thanking you because they have their child in their life still because of what you learned and studied and pass on, not because of how much somebody made that year. You're not a great doctor, lawyer, whatever, because of what you make in a year. It's about who you help, how you help them. And that's when you die, you're not going to be like, wow, my last memory is I'm so happy I made bazillions of dollars. It's going to be, man, that little girl I helped, that's what's bringing my soul to the next level and getting me into heaven, or, whatever you want to believe in. It's your deeds that you wear on your soul to evolve your spirit to carry on. You leave the world in a better place, not better yourself. Because when you're dead, none of it comes with you. And for the most part, nobody's going to remember you over the long term unless you're Bob Dylan or something, because he played with his heart.
Well, yeah, just he touched a lot of lives and moved them.
And that's what a good doctor does, a good lawyer. Any specialist, they touch lives with this extra, you had to do like close to 20 years of school to be what you are. But you're touching lives, and that's why you're successful. When I had you on my show, I could see the light in you. And I was trying to explain this to my guys after. I get guys, no offense to Gunter, but there's dead eyes, where I've worked with thousands of people and I speak to them, a communications major. You could see when somebody's full of crap, and you can see when somebody is full of love, I guess,
Well, I appreciate your saying
yeah,
that.
you'll have more people thanking you for your work than your accountants thanking you for what you made that year when you're passed.
That's true. That's right. When I had that opportunity, when I was in college, a lot of the guys who I was in school with, who were getting economics degrees, went off to Wall Street. And I had looked at that pathway, and I said, well, you can make piles and piles of money if you do that. But at the end of your life, when you look back, you're going to ask yourself, I wonder if I ever helped anybody with anything I did.
And his mic. Sorry.
So I was at my, I think, 25th, 30th reunion recently. And so we were back at college, and that is exactly what the guys who went to Wall Street were saying. They were like, we made mountains of money, but maybe you guys who became doctors had it right. Because they were all saying they really wondered if any of the things that they did over the last 20, 30 years had helped anybody.
And you notice they're all lonely. It's a big trend. I work with a lot of people with money, and they're lonely. They're out of touch. They've separated themselves, and they don't get anything other than yes men around them. Who are just there to, they want your money too, so whatever you say is just the best thing in the world, but there's no genuality in it.
Well, there's a lot that needs to be corrected in this country.
I profited very well off those people. They come around with me, oh yeah, you want to pour money to be cool? I'll make you cool for a day.
But I'm glad there are people who are leading with their heart, who are out there
trying to... It's a new trend. It's a new trend. This was never like this. I think something must have happened in the last 5 to 10 years where normal people are starting to step up. People that don't have to do politics. They're doing it because we care and we want to get involved to make your lives better. My life, I'll be honest, in Nevada State Senate, you're making maybe $11,000, $12,000 a year. My life don't get better for $11,000, $12,000 a year.
Yeah.
My life gets better because my children follow me and they have a better life, and their friends get to know it just feels good. You're getting that connection. I did something for somebody other than myself is the best feeling. You ever want to glow? Play Santa Claus somewhere. I worked with the Shade Tree Women's Shelter and the terminally ill families, and I got to do Santa for a couple years. I walked around like I was glowing. Like I felt like what Jesus must have felt every day. And I got paid nothing to do that. And that's probably the biggest accomplishment short of having my children that I've ever done in my life.
I think as we're getting to this age, we're kind of realizing that there are these problems out there, and if people we're the adults now, we're the people who are responsible for fixing
and nothing
these
changes in here. That's what kids don't realize. I'm like, I thought maybe when I became an adult, something in my brain would click and I wouldn't have that kid mind. I still feel like the same 20-year-old. It's hard being a 21-year-old in a 48-year-old's body.
Well, but you're taking a lot of responsibility in helping your community. The stuff you're doing down in the tunnels is a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. I like to see everybody participating in it. It's not a clean thing, but it only takes an afternoon, and you feel really good, and you're helping somebody. You feel really good, like you're unstoppable. I don't care what your stress is in life. You can't pay your bills. You can't do this. You go down there and help these people that have nothing, don't even have love for themselves, nothing. You're unstoppable when you leave. There's no problem in your life that is too big anymore.
Well, thank you for having the courage to run for office. Yes. I'm here today with Mike Borris, who's running for Assembly District 21. Go out and support him. How can people find you to support your campaign?
You can go on michaelborrisfornevada.com. You can listen to Mike Check on 107.1 FM every Friday, 6 to 8. Everywhere, Instagram, anything. Find us and bring us your money. We'll buy street signs with it. We won't send it to Somalia, we swear.
Great having you on the show. Thanks so much for coming.
Appreciate you.
I'm Dr. Nagy. I'm running for U.S. Congress in Nevada's 3rd Congressional District. We'd love your support.
This podcast is a campaign communication paid for by Nagy for Congress and authorized by me, Dr. Nagy. The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the campaign or its affiliates. Discussions are intended for informational and conversational purposes only and do not constitute legal, financial, or professional advice. Any references to public policy matters reflect general positions and priorities at the time of the recording and are subject to change based on legislative process and voter input.